welcome back to the Irish Mags Show. It's episode 53, lads. My name is Paul, and I'm joined, as ever, by Alan and Chris Show. And lads, I have a surprise for you. I have something that we're celebrating that you don't even know, and you've no idea I'm about to say this, but something huge has happened that you don't even realize. And I've not heard enough people speak about this. Our captain, Bruno Guimaraes, won a toss in a game. This is a game changer here, guys. This is like start buying your lotto tickets. Like this just doesn't happen.
A 1 in 17 chance to get that wrong every single time. You're more likely to win the lotto 3 times. Just pointing that out.
Yeah. Did anyone see Dan Burns' reaction? He was like, "Yeah."
So. I mean, you can clearly see. You know, sometimes you think when you see things on like Twitter and social media or in the news or whatever that the players are a bit removed from stuff like that. They've obviously been talking about it, and they've definitely been slagging them off about it. You know,
they do
100%.
You could just picture them all in the train, you know, after training, whatever. Right, Bruno, come on, we're going to do heads or tails again. Come on. Oh dear. Well, look, it was the start of a pretty good evening, I suppose, is a way to describe it. A wild and wet Wednesday evening in the northeast, and a crazy game. Newcastle versus Liverpool just rarely disappoints. There's not many that'll be listening to us that are neutrals, no more than ourselves, far from it. But it is a hell of a game for neutrals. And the commentary team that I was listening to were having an absolute field day with it. It was just end to end. It was like a basketball game, 2 teams going hell for leather. And I think one of the points I've heard made was it's one of the it felt like a while since we had a really good spectacle of a game, particularly at St. James's Park. You know, we've beaten Spurs and we had a good draw with City, but in terms of just the entertainment factor, some really good football. And I think it's fair to say for the majority of the game, the return of the intensity as well. That's quite
100%. Great.
So we're going to dive into Liverpool mostly for today. We have a couple of special guests lined up for the next couple of weeks. More Christmas gifts to bring you. And we're going to be really focusing on a couple of spotlight topics, and in particular transfers ahead of January, because we know there's going to be a lot going on. And we may even have discussions of a live show. There'll be a live show online. We're talking about live shows in person. And I'm going to be pushing Mr. Alan Williamson at the end of the show for an update about Christmas party related things, in case there's any nuggets of information. Oh no, Alan, I've accidentally told Chris Show about the Christmas party. What have I done?
Oh no.
Yes. I can't wait.
Let's just move on. Maybe he didn't hear us.
Thanks for the invite. Yeah.
Shit. Moving swiftly on. Actually, Chris Show, before we move swiftly on, I have a bone to pick with you. There's some rumors going around about your whereabouts for this game, for this Newcastle versus Liverpool game. Because I saw pictures from the Bleaker. You weren't spotted in the Bleaker. I saw pictures of the Irish Mags who went on tour and traveled over for the game. You weren't in any of them. No. There's some talks that you were behind enemy lines. I mean, I don't want to say you've gone full Stockholm syndrome on us, but came back with a hint of red about you, no?
Look, it was reconnaissance. That's all I was doing. Yeah, it was just reconnaissance work. I got an invite from the Irish Liverpool group, and not that they'd seen me on this. It's through a family and friends connection. And they said, here, look, there's never any Newcastle fans knocking about. I was kind of thinking, you're joking, right? And they said, no, where we drink, there never is. Would you like to come and wear your jersey for the crack? Like, it'd be good laugh. And I thought, you know what? I will. Went in, couldn't believe it. Even the 2 barmen were Liverpool fans. I was like, holy crap. One of them had a jersey on. And I thought, oh my God, where the hell am I? There was, there must have been 90 to 100 Liverpool fans, and one little bobble-headed clown walking around in his black and white jersey with Tonali on the back, basically just doing, excuse my French, all of them as I walked around. The abuse I got, essentially, from the moment I walked in, it was unbelievable. But it was all in good nature. But then once the game started, the good nature kind of ran out of it a little bit. Because honestly, and I'll say this, and you can record me live saying it, I have never met a bunch of fans that are so self-indulgent and so the least humble fan base I've ever met in my entire life. The stuff that they were saying about
fans.
Oh my God! The stuff they were saying about Kevin Keegan, about Alan Pardew, about Steve Bruce, about St. James's Park being an old kip, everything, like even slagging off Shay Given. I couldn't believe it. I was like, Kelleher's way better than Shay Given. That's one nugget that I've heard last night. I'll tell you some more once we get through the game, but my God, lads, I barely got out of there in my life. One guy bought me a straight whiskey. I don't drink whiskey. It drives me crazy. One guy bought me a straight whiskey at the end of the game, went, here, get that into you. And I was like, okay, thanks. There was nothing on top of that, lads. He didn't say anything like, well done, or, you know, good luck, good crack. He just drink that. And I went, maybe I won't. Maybe I won't drink that. But yeah, it went behind enemy lines. And I realized, for everybody's benefit in the Irish Mags, that they're one of the worst bunch of fans ever. Ever.
Just to expand on your point there, in the bleaker, we had a Liverpool fan.
What?
Oh, yes. That man did not stop the whole game. We turned around when Fabian Schär put the ball in the back of the net, and there was a dust outline of that man disappearing into the background. I've never seen anyone disappear as quick. He left a full point there. Gone. Like that. Gave us dogs abuse when that third goal went in for Liverpool. They were winning the Champions League that night somehow. Everything was going for them. Schär scored and he was gone. And it was the best feeling in the world. So we agree with Chris Show. They're the worst fans in the world.
They really are. Look, there's one thing, right? And I know we're going to talk about the game. The one thing, the worst thing I heard was, that's the worst performance by Liverpool in 12 to 18 months, and you still can't beat us. That's what was said. And they all kind of all grumbly agreed and this, that, and the other. And I said, you guys have got to be joking. You guys played poorly because we made you play poorly. We had just, the midfield was ours. We had much more intensity and blah, 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 blah. And they were like, yeah. You guys would be lucky to get 8 or 9 this year. And I was like, I'm going to the bar. Went to the bar. 2 Liverpool fans wanted to argue with me behind the bar. I thought, oh no, what have I done? What have I come here? Oh my God.
That's why you should come to Bleaker more often.
You're right.
Yeah, Alan, the problem is, Alan, he gets so much abuse when he goes to the Bleaker. He actually thought it would be a breath of fresh air going down to a Liverpool.
Then he realised what real abuse was.
Dogs abuse.
Then he learned how good he has it. There's nothing worse than that type of sour grapes. Not even like, you can be pissed that your team did, if you've lost your game or whatever, but to kind of be like, oh yeah, we were shit, you should have, like that kind of stuff, that they weren't shit. They were actually very good in the second half. They showed that they'll be good enough to win the league this season because they came from behind in a really hard place to go. Do you know what I mean? So I don't hold the highest levels of esteem in their footballing knowledge or intelligence, but that's neither here nor there. So we talk about the game,
right?
I'm going to ask two of you how you, just starting with really easily, how you felt coming away from it, because I could only describe my emotions as we should have won that game, but we were lucky not to lose. Here I am 24 hours later, and I'm like asking myself, does that mean a draw was fair? Well, I don't think so. So it was a really hard one to process. And I don't want to say it was a game of two halves, but we looked back to our best, especially in the first half. The intensity was there, all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to get too hung up on that, because in the end we did go and concede 3 goals, and there were some errors. But yeah, I just felt so torn coming away from it, and maybe I need to just sit back and say a draw was a good result. Alan, how were you emotionally coming away from that game?
Exhausted, absolutely exhausted coming out of it. But I went into the game saying, give me a performance. I don't really care about the result, because Liverpool are, as much as I hate to say it, they're the informed team in Europe, let alone England at the minute. I wanted a performance. I was like, if we go out, play well, lose 2-0, it's not the end of the world. We can move on. They gave us so much more than that. I left that game going, I can't believe we've just gone head or toe-to-toe with Liverpool. Arguably could have won it at the end. Arguably Van Dijk should have been sent off. Arguably could have had a penalty. And I'm going, we've got a point, and I'm saying this could have happened, this could have happened, this could have happened. And we could have won the game. That's always a good barometer of how we've played in my eyes. I just thought we were absolutely fantastic, and leaving disappointed that we only got a point, but also, as you said, relieved that we didn't lose it, because Liverpool have that mentality. We haven't got it yet. It's just we're not losing. We don't know how to lose. We do know how to lose, unfortunately. They don't. But I just felt that we were in a better position coming out of it. It was just such a relief. I absolutely loved leaving that game going, Can't believe we didn't win. Can't believe we didn't lose. Can't believe it in general. So it was just great.
Can't believe it's not butter.
Great.
Krisho, I suppose the emotions of, and you obviously, the emotions that I saw Alan and the lads go through when Fabian Schär equalised are very different to the emotions you would have experienced surrounded by 50, 60, 80 Liverpool fans. But
I heard,
it kind of distorts your, I suppose, emotions on, the buzz, the elation of equalising makes me, I came away with it. It felt like a draw that was a win because we'd equalised so late. And then you do need that time to kind of go, okay, yeah, but like we could have actually won the game. 3 points were there for the taking. We did give away a couple of sloppy passes and so on and blah, blah, blah. What was the emotions for you like coming away from it? Was it something similar? Were you just buzzing coming out the door of a Liverpool pub?
Yeah, I think I was asked to leave. If I'm not mistaken.
Again, first time ever that's happened.
I have a really, really sore arm. This morning when I woke up in a bruise. And I think I either fell over or somebody threw me over. Because essentially when Schär equalised, I kind of felt I was in the bleaker where we're kind of, we're able to just jump up and shout. But this was not appreciated. I jumped up. All I heard was a lot of F sakes, sit down, you clown, all this kind of stuff. But I was like giving it all this and pointing at Tonali and all this, that, and the other. And the people that know me, that were with me, were like, sit down, dude. That's
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Which is crap, like, because that's what the whole magic of football is. But yeah, bruised, Paul, hungover, but equally like Alan, I just literally couldn't believe it. I must have talked the head off the taxi guy on the way home. He was like, "Who is this guy? What, does he think he's on a podcast or something? You should have heard me." I even sat in the front seat for the first time since I was 18. I was all over him, telling him about this, telling him about that, telling him about Harvey Barnes and blah, blah, blah. But look, it was the same case as Al. I literally couldn't believe it that we pulled it back, because let's be honest, I was a little bit disappointed that Liverpool have beaten Man City and Real Madrid in the last couple of weeks. They're one of the informed teams in the world, and we gave them as good as they gave us. The first half they were completely nullified, but still they're a very dangerous team. They played superbly, as good as Liverpool I've seen play in a long time in that second half, and we still pegged them back to a draw. So I was immensely proud to wear the black and white last night, especially where I was. I think there might have been one person on the way out that said, no, hang on, fair play, fair play. It probably should have been a draw. But as he said draw, about 7 or 8 hungry Liverpool fans gobbled him up and said, "Don't be stupid. It's ridiculous. This is a mid-table bloody club. We should be smashing these." And I'm thinking, wow, so humble. Wow, so humble. But yeah, I was immensely proud. I thought everybody put in a shift. They really worked cohesively on the team. You could see that they really cared. Jacob Murphy, again, Jesus, check him out. He's been shocking all season. And yet last night, I thought he played really well, defensively and attacking. And that shot that hit the post, that was like a Tottenham-esque shot. And he got another one off outside the box as well. I thought, right, Murphy's on fire tonight. And if one of our weaker players is on fire, the rest of them, Bruno was majestic again. I thought he was brilliant. He held the midfield very, very well. Tonali. So I know we're going to discuss this, but Guimaraes is an 8 and Tonali is a 6. That's the only way this is going to work. And it has to work that way, because Tonali 100%. Was absolutely brilliant. That was his best performance for Newcastle, without a doubt, last night. I don't know whether you guys agree, but he was all over the place.
Yeah, I feel like he's getting better and better. The midfield is definitely something I want to talk to you about, because it's not a new midfield. It's not a new look midfield, but it feels different. But we're going to go into that in a minute. I just wanted to ask you, I wanted to get your take, Alan, on something we're kind of picking up on now with Newcastle, right? We have managed Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs. That's 4.5 big teams. Yeah, I'll let you decide. And then we seem to go and we play the likes of West Ham, Palace, Everton, Bournemouth, even to an extent Brighton, even though they're flying high in the league. And we just don't seem to have the same effect. We've talked a lot about low block and all this kind of stuff, but is there something about we just do better against big teams? I've had it suggested that we just do better because of under the lights, TV cameras, like this kind of notion. But I'm just curious to hear what you think, especially when it comes to the big players, where we didn't see Isak and Gordon and even Bruno perform for the last 2 games. All 3 of them performed against Liverpool. Why?
I had this conversation at work today with a Liverpool fan, and he was like, we were going into this game super, super confident. And I was like, I'll tell you, I went into this game saying this is either going to be the best performance of our lives or the worst performance of our lives, no in between. And we happened to get the best. So I was delighted. But it's not worth anything. I do not want to have performances against Liverpool like that. If we're going to go out and continually lose to teams that should be beaten, I hate saying nobody should be beating anyone, but if you want to be a Champions League side, you have to beat these sides. And at the minute, we do not have the mentality, and that's what it is. I think it's a mentality issue. We raise our game to the point where we put the Man Cities, the Liverpools, the Arsenals on pedestals, and we go, we're here to knock them off that. Whereas we go into games against West Ham's, the Brightons, going, we should be beating this. That's a poor mentality to have in football. Yeah. I think it might have crept in slightly to the team. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault or anything like that, but I think it is a mentality issue that we just need to, something has to give. But I also think last night we played the occasion to a T. Absolutely everything was perfect. From minute 1 to minute 95, everything was perfect. Other games, the West Ham, the Palace game, minute 1 to minute 90, nothing went right. You can tell how a game at Newcastle is going to go after 3 minutes of the match. It's generally how Bruno's first pass goes. Bruno's first pass goes to the man and everything works out well. Newcastle play well. If it doesn't, your back's up against it. We need to get that mentality right in every single game. We had it the year we got the Champions League. We didn't have it last year. We haven't really seen it yet this year. I'm praying that this is a turning point, but how many turning points can you have throughout a season before you say, we can raise our game to play big teams and we cannot play the smaller sides? What's the point? I do think there needs to be a mentality shift in the squad. And hopefully this is it.
Yeah, you'd hope so, because you can't always be relying on the fact that we're playing a big team as being the motivator to rattle you up, to rile you up, and to get the best out of our big players. Isak was a man possessed against Liverpool. Now, we know Isak loves playing against a team that push high, against high lines. Spurs love doing that. Liverpool love doing that. City do it. He loves breaking in behind. We need to figure out, and he needs to figure out a way of getting him to go against Brentford now, to go and play Leicester and go and do the same and put in the same level, but maybe variety in his performance. If he can't run in behind, then he needs to drift out left or he needs to drop deeper or whatever it takes. But we need to figure it out, and he needs to figure it out. But I just have some stats here as well, lads. Against Liverpool there, we had 6 shots on target and we created, like, statistically 3 kind of what are defined as big, clear-cut chances. By contrast to that, if you kind of combine West Ham and Palace, we had 1 clear-cut chance against West Ham, and we had 2 shots on target that were against West Ham. Obviously, nothing happened against Crystal Palace. So it does show you a big shift, a big change. And again, there's mentality. Mentality is a big part of it, and we can't really dissect that, and we can't influence it. That's down to, I suppose, Eddie Howe and the team. What we can do, though, is look at the tactical nature of things. And Chrisio's already alluded to what I think is probably the biggest factor here. And for me, it's this midfield. And I was doing some research for a little article I'm writing, that I was writing this morning on this midfield, because, as I said, this isn't a new look midfield. And you'd be surprised to know, lads, that the trio of Bruno, Tonali and Joe Linton have started the most games of all the combinations that Eddie Howe has started in the league. So what does that mean? In the league so far this season, of the 14 games we've had, there's been 5 different combinations of 3 midfielders. Now, Bruno has been in every one of them, surprise, surprise. But 5 of the 14 was Bruno, Tonali and Joe Linton. 4 was Bruno, Longstaff and Joe Linton. 3 was Bruno, Longstaff and Willock. And then 1 each for Bruno, Tonali, Willock, Bruno, Willock, Joe Linton. And those games didn't go very well. So this is interesting, because in those 5 games where Bruno and Tonali and Joe Linton, the 3 midfielders who started against Liverpool, in the games that they had played, we've won 6 out of a possible 15 points. Now, there's always caveats, there's always, asterisks and the like, but I found this an interesting stat. And the reason I'm looking at things a bit differently is, even though it's the same 3 players, The other 4 games where they started, they didn't play the same way. Palace to an extent, but where we've had those 3 starting before, I think we've all seen the same thing. Joelinton is just going around doing what he does. He's box to box. He doesn't need to be, tied down. He needs to be told, follow the ball or follow the man and just kill everyone around you. And he did that brilliantly last night. But then in the other games, you'd see Bruno and Tonali both going forward at the same time, both trying to do similar things. Now I feel like in the last I suppose it's the last game or maybe 2 games, that definition is finally there. And Eddie Howe, I think they didn't buy Tonali to be a 6. Tonali was never a 6 for AC Milan. Yeah. I think he's finally kind of decided, right, Sandro, you're taking one for the team here. We're going to sacrifice what you can give us going forward because you can give us a lot more as a 6. And it's not a limited 6. It's a 6 that, has the ability to move away if he needs to. But the priority is to be that 6. So the priority is to cover the gap, plug those holes. And I think in turn, what that has done is it's given Joelinton and Bruno some confidence to know they just don't need to be thinking as much about that problem of shit, I need to get back. And what you can see is, I think I read a stat that said Joelinton had the most number of recoveries of every outfield player on the pitch yesterday in terms of just getting the ball back. And then obviously Krisho, we saw Bruno getting 2, not 1, but 2 assists. And I feel like this Bruno as a number 8 thing, I think it's an evolution. He's never really been as a Newcastle player, he's not been given too much leeway to kind of push forward. If I was a gambling man, I'd be looking at maybe a Brentford or a Leicester game and thinking there's a first goal for Bruno coming here, because I think he's starting to get comfortable and get more used to being in a more advanced role. He touched the ball a lot less in that game against Liverpool than he usually would, because normally we see him pick up the ball in front of the back 4. That's not him anymore. So he's getting the ball to feet a bit less, but when he's getting it, he can do more with it. And I think that's where the 2 assists came from. Well, but yeah, you were alluding to that as well, as a number 8, as a more creative attacking force of Bruno and what Tonali unlocks.
What people were saying last night, right, and it was clearly evident as you were watching it, right, is that it kind of looked like, a lot of the time, it looked more like a 4-5-1 than a 4-3-3. They spread right across the midfield. The 3 guys, once we choke point them in the midfield, Tonali, Joelinton, and Bruno just kind of broke into a 3 and kind of just passed their way and worked their way through. They all knew what they were doing, but the one beautiful thing that was annoying the Liverpool fans last night is that Liverpool usually can casually, and obviously they're very talented players on their team, can usually pass it around and pass it through. They couldn't get through us last night. Okay, they did a couple of times, of course, but in the first half anyway, they couldn't get anywhere near us, and Joelinton was picking up the ball, Tonali was getting in tackles, Bruno was getting in tackles. But once we turned our heel and broke on them, Liverpool looked all at sea. There was a black and white wall coming at them from all angles. Murphy, I was hoping Barnes would have got a shout over Murphy, but look, listen, Barnes is on his way in January, I think, and that's what the problem is with Joelinton moving out left. But the whole midfield last night, and this is going back to your mentality point, Alan, is essentially they were all in it together last night, especially the 5 in the midfield. The back 4 are always in it together. They seem very linked up, and they know what they're at, especially when Dan Burns in there calling the shots. But I was saying last week, there's no real leader in the midfield. They kind of seemed all at sea the last 2 or 3 games. But last night, because of the kind of right across central 5, essentially that's what it was, 4-5-1. Shifting back when Liverpool were attacking. As soon as we got that ball, it shifted to a 4-3-3 and they broke out of midfield. That's, I think, the way Eddie Howe wants it to be. The thing is, he needs a buy-in. He needs a right winger that's a little bit more talented than Jacob Murphy to do the same thing with Gordon. Gordon was on a personal mission last night. You could see with his celebration and everything, he was on a personal mission. So he needs to play like that every game, and we need a right winger that also can do defense and attack all at the same time. So shifting back to a 4-5-1 when we're getting attacked, and then break out to a 4-4-3 when we're on the attack. We cannot play 4-3-3 when we're getting attacked. We have to shift back to a 4-5-1 and put it right across the board. We choke point most of the teams. Liverpool, for the first time in a long time, played the most long balls that they've played in the last games. So it was a disaster for them. They had to play long ball. So I even said that last night, but it didn't go down very well either, that you guys are resorting to long ball.
we forced ourselves upon Liverpool. It's the first time I can say in the last little while that we've actually implemented ourselves on a team, and it's not been us catching them on the break. Large portions of that game, we were the better side. Yes, Liverpool were on top for certain aspects of it, but it was the first time I can say this season that one of the big sides came to St. James's Park and we put them under pressure for more time than we were under pressure, if you know what I mean. Liverpool get their goals. Liverpool have the ability to bring Trent, to bring Jota, to bring all these lads on. Szoboszlai, lads who we were looking for. Every single one of them starts for us. We don't have that luxury yet. They do. It still didn't matter. We were still the better side overall. We'd more shots. We'd more dangerous chances. We'd more everything. I just felt that yesterday it finally clicked. It's looking good for the rest of the season if things continue to go that way, but you never know if it's going to. That's the problem.
But
Well, I wasn't going to jump into it yet, but because I do want to talk about Anthony Gordon actually. I wasn't going to jump into it yet, but I did have one critique coming away from it. Let's say, like I know for let's say their first 2 goals, I think we had a couple of sloppy passes where we gave them the ball. Now they still had a lot to do with it, but they did it because it's Liverpool and they can do that to you. So, you know, I think we got to cut that out. I've said this before. We don't really concede great goals. The goals we concede seem to be our own fault. We kind of almost give it to them, and that annoys the hell out of me because they're avoidable. You know, if we conceded a goal like what Isak scored yesterday, then you put your hands up and you say that's an unbelievable goal and Pope isn't stopping that or whatever. But the goals we seem to concede regularly are just chances we give to other teams, or we give them back the ball, or we make a sloppy mistake. But anyway, that's besides the point. Alan's triggered me there talking about substitutions because I think the reason we've not won that game and almost lost that game comes down to substitutions. And I'll tell you my theory on this, lads. Alan mentioned it there. Liverpool go 2-1 down. Gordon scores. Slot basically makes a triple substitution straight away. Brings on Trent, brings on Szoboszlai, and brings on Luis Diaz. Big time, creative, quick players, plenty of experience, quality, whatever. You can see what happened. 2 minutes later, they scored. I don't know if it was the fresh legs, the chaos factor, whatever, but it changed things. Szoboszlai in particular. I find with Eddie Howe, I actually found myself asking, does he even like subs, just in general? The more I thought about it, I was finding myself going, well, actually, does he? Because when we're losing or when we need to do something, we do have impact players. Harvey Barnes is an impact player. I think Joe Willock has been an impact player in the past for us. You'd hope that Callum Wilson will become more of one as he gets back to match fitness. But if we need to see a game out, or if it's a 1-0, or if it's something now, or if we're trying to hold on, he relentlessly just seems to think the players on the pitch are the ones that need to do that and are the only ones that can do that, or they deserve to do that because
he leaves it. Yeah, you're right, Paul. He leaves it,
and he leaves it very long. So by the time we got to about 75 minutes, there was a point where Joe Linton had kind of just lost the ability to track someone back, and you could see he was pooped. And you know, we had done our intensity high press to the best team in the world for 75 minutes. You can't do that at the same levels for 90 minutes. Nobody can do that. Do you know what I mean? It's just impossible. When you look at the players they have, plus they've brought on 3 incredible subs. And then a couple of minutes later, Tonali is kind of looking at the bench, and I think his hamstring was a bit tight or something. You could see there was a problem here. Now, we didn't make any subs. Harvey Barnes came on, obviously, for Murphy, but I wouldn't really count that as a sub in where we needed. 83 minutes, I think, after we were 3-2 down, I think is when we've made this triple change. And I just can't understand why he doesn't trust a Longstaff or a Joe Willock to come on for, in that case, probably a Joe Linton and a Tonali, and do what needs to be done. And you know, they don't have to go out with the same ferocity. It doesn't have to be the same way they've been playing for the past 70 minutes, but go out and do a job, which is close down space, track the lads, look at the subs that have come on with fresh legs. And I felt like that ultimately cost us because they were fresher than we were with arguably better players on paper. And they went and scored 2 goals in quick succession. That bugged the fucking hell out of me because as I thought about it more, I started agreeing with myself more, which happens, lads, very often because nobody else in this house me as much as I do. And yeah, Krisho, it's I feel like it's a problem because if you don't move away from it, there's going to be a lot of games where we might be just holding on to a 1-0 lead, or we might be drawing and you take a draw. And you need fresh legs at this level because of the intensity with which we play.
This comes from Alan's point about mentality. Eddie loves the players he has, right? He loves coaching them. He's always talking them up. I think there's a little bit of, there's a couple I think that he wouldn't mind seeing heading on. But you're right, Paul. We should have made changes because to freshen it up. They brought on 3 world-class players, like Al said, that we get into our team, hands down, first 11. But there's a couple of problems here. It's the investment, right? He's looking back behind him at the subs he has. They're not. It's not incomparable to the top 6 or even the top 8 in terms of subs. Some teams that are kind of even below us have better subs. Sometimes when you see the starting lineups or the team sheets, the mentality he can't. I don't think he can trust. I think what's gone wrong essentially over the last couple of months anyway is that he didn't want the groans at 65 minutes of bringing on Longstaff or bringing on this. Like you're right, he does leave it too long, but I think he's become a little bit hesitant with the subs. He doesn't want to take Tonali off and bring Longstaff on, and 48,000 of the 52,000 groan and give out about it. It's essentially what we need to do here, and I know we're going to move on to it, but we need to ship some old wood out, and we need to get some new people in. I had no idea what they're doing with Asula whatsoever. I don't even know what he's doing on the bench. Almiron is clearly not going to get a game again, or if he is, it's going to be for 5 or 6 minutes. And I think, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I don't know whether you guys thought it or not, but I think Longstaff's confidence has been really dented the last while. He's done a couple of interviews, and the last couple of games he's played, if he could have ran down the tunnel after being subbed off, he would have. I just think that there's a lot of players there. There's a grumbling there. I did say there was something rotten in the state of Denmark. There's something there that's not right. And there's a couple of players, I think, in the background that have caused Eddie Howe to kind of go, look, I'm not changing this. This is going as well as it possibly could go. I can't change this, but we have to be able to do that. We have to be able to go, Tonali's wrecked, Joelinton's wrecked, take them off and bring on somebody at least not as good, but nearly as good, at least Premier League quality that we know can do us a job. Bring on Barnes. I mean, I think we've criminally misused Harvey Barnes, criminally misused him. We have 2 left wingers, 3, Joelinton, Gordon, and Barnes, and he'll go Gordon all day. He'll go Joelinton if we're playing away from home. Barnes is a forgotten man. He keeps coming on and scoring. He's got a good attitude. I think he speaks very well in his interviews. There's a big problem there. Bringing him on yesterday, he thought, I'll bring Harvey Barnes on. He'll save us the game. But I think Barnes is on the way out. I said it there earlier. I think Barnes is on the way out in January, either on loan or he's going to be sold so that we can buy somebody in.
It's a strange one. Yeah, the Barnes situation is weird. He's still, like, I think Isak has 5 goals and Barnes has 4. But obviously he scored all 4 of those goals back in like September, October. So it is a strange one, the Barnes situation.
Just a quick one.
Yeah.
On the subs, Eddie Howe is a reactive manager when it comes to subs. He is not proactive. Arne Slot.
I'm having deja vu. I think you've said this before. I'm having deja vu.
Oh, I have said this before, and I will say it again. One of Eddie Howe's major flaws is waiting until as it's 65 minutes. Longstaff or Willock is going to come on. I think it was the 75th minute against Wolves. Wilson and Longstaff came on, or was it Wilson? Yeah, Longstaff came on. It's always he's reacting to something changing. Eddie can't, or not that he can't, Eddie hasn't shown to me that he can be the one to go, we're on top. These look like something might change soon. What I will do is I'll throw a spanner into the works. I'll throw a curveball at these. They won't know what I'm going to do. I'll change it up and I'll be proactive for once. It does get frustrating.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, we still come out of that game with a point, and it's very, very tough to say you're disappointed with that. So it's a weird one.
Yeah, and look, we're just, I'm critiquing where the only players I can see. I can't critique any of the players. I can't critique the lineup. You can't say we got a whole lot wrong. A couple of sloppy passes, fine, that happens. We need to learn from that. But yeah, I think the subs is what ultimately costs us.
One other thing, and I know Chris is going to be absolutely heartbroken when I say this. Nick Pope's distribution was excellent yesterday, especially with his feet.
The throwing.
The throwing and his kicking. I noticed 3 or 4 times the ball was played back. Now, don't get me wrong. Hurt in me trousers anytime the ball went back to his feet. But he was clipping the ball out to Tino. He was passing the ball into the middle. There was even one time he tried a quick kick out. Went straight out of play. But it wasn't massively out of play like it usually does. Kind of bounced, skidded off the surface and went down. And I'm going, that's not the worst attempt I've ever seen. That's okay. It did look, and like we're the first ones to point out Pinocchio legs, as Mr. Crisho likes to always say. Yesterday, Pope's kicking was not an issue in my eyes. I thought it was very, very good, and his distribution, especially throwouts to Lewis Hall. If he keeps getting better, he will actually just morph into Cafu. By the way, I don't understand what's wrong with him. He's absolutely sensational. But Pope's throwouts sensational.
Well, Alan, you've done my job for me because you've segued into Lewis Hall, which is the last question I wanted to ask you, lads.
Yeah,
Lewis Hall. It's baffling, really, and I've said obviously I do a bit of recording with True Faith. I'm probably repeating myself here, but his ceiling, lads, his growth and his ceiling is incredible. And a year ago today, he was in the dregs. He was being hooked at halftime. He was barely getting minutes. 12 months later, he's 2 caps for England, and for large parts of that game, maybe let's say an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. He was handling arguably the best player in world football at this exact moment, which is Mo Salah. And I think people would find it hard to agree with that based on form and based on numbers. You know, yes, I think Lewis Hall had a sloppy pass for that first goal. Liverpool break on the counter, score. In fact, all 3 goals went down that left Lewis Hall's kind of left-hand side. I wouldn't say they're all his fault. Again, it's Mo Salah. You know, Crisho mentioned Real Madrid, Man City. Salah's, you know, he's made far better players. Look less than what Lewis Hall did against him. I feel like that if you want to spin this as a positive, I think that, you know, Lewis Hall could look back with a lot of pride in how he managed Salah for large parts of that game, and I think there's a whole bunch of learning he can take from it as well. Having marked Lewis Salah, who's Lewis Salah? Must be Mo Salah's brother, Mo Salah. For in that game, because there's not many right-sided forwards. That's what we're calling them these days. There's not many that play like Salah, but there are going to be many more to come, because there's no such thing as, like, Jacob Murphy is the last of a dying breed. Right-footed right wingers and right forwards are becoming a thing of the past. They're all cutting inside, and that's what Salah does. And look how he did it there in that game. So yeah, I suppose, Alan, Lewis Hall, you know, do you look at it and you go, what were we thinking playing Dan Burn as a left back? So what's your how do you kind of weigh up Eddie Howe's management of Lewis Hall from, you know, 18 months ago now?
11 out of 10. He was right to hook him when he was hooking him. Yeah. He said he needed time to improve his defending. And just on something yesterday, I was talking to one of my mates, Liverpool fan, and he was going on about Salah. And I was like, look, you have to let me say my whole point about Salah before you. I was like, Salah touched the ball 4 times yesterday. 2 of them ended up in the back of the net. One of them was assist and the other one hit the crossbar. Other than that, Lewis Hall had him in his pocket. And he was like, that's a sign of a great player. I was like, 100,000,000%. Salah is unbelievable. Lewis Hall kept him quiet for the majority of the game. In his moments, Salah did turn it on. And 2 of the goals, Hall wasn't even marking him for. Now, the pass in from Salah for the goal could have done a little bit better, but that's not the end of the world. I said it a few minutes ago. He wouldn't have looked out of place the way he's performing in that Brazil 1970s team. He's just a joke of a footballer. He's getting better and better and better. And if he keeps going the way he's going, he's the England left back for the next 15 years, let alone 10 years.
Yeah, easy. Lewis Hall has grown nearly 6 foot in stature, essentially. He seems to know what he's doing.
Taller than Dan Burn, is he?
Yeah, well, he is. Yeah. He's about 8 foot now. But no, it just seems like that he's very confident in what he's doing, where his position is, what he's supposed to be doing. He knows. I was kind of critical of him, the fact that his defensive qualities, again, Alan was saying he's a midfielder, but I think that he's one of the best left backs in the Premier League, even right now. And the fact that we've got him and we got him in, and his family are Newcastle fans, we're in dreamland here with this chap. This chap could play for Real Madrid. Easy. Yeah. Well, okay, maybe not Real Madrid, but I think maybe in a couple of years we might see him heading off to Barcelona or something. But look, we've got to make best use of these guys and get players in that are very similar to that. And this is where I kind of Amazon Prime did an interview with Eddie Howe last night, asking about what Paul Mitchell had said over the summer about being thrown under the bus. And Eddie was very kind of diplomatic, as he always is, but he said he was very, very happy with the recruitment so far, even though we don't seem to be happy with it. But when you look at instances like Lewis Hall and Tino, you can't fault what they've done and how they've done it. So personally, and I know we're going to move on to this, but I'm personally very excited at what's going to happen. Maybe not so much in January because I don't know what we're going to do, because I don't know whether we have the money. But next summer, I'm expecting not a huge clear out, not as huge as I'd want, but we're definitely going to be getting in 4, 5, 6 players. Maybe we can get 2 in January. What do you think? Is there anything like Lewis Hall?
I tell you what, I would take 1. I think we could do with 1 for. It needs to be a first team player who's ready to make a difference in the first team, preferably on that right hand side. I mean, but it's going to be hard to come by unless we have a player already earmarked that isn't playing for a top 4 to 6 club in a league somewhere. But anything other than that, I find it very difficult. Probably why you should go to the irishmags.com and read the article I wrote about 5 right forwards from overseas that we should sign for Newcastle.
One of them wasn't Chiesa, because he got absolute dog's abuse last night in that Liverpool pub. They said like that it's like as if it was kind of some kind of political thing, or it wasn't even a football decision. It was nonsense. He's not even going to play for Liverpool. I think he's.
We can't really talk with the Greek goalkeepers that we signed. So there's a game happening somewhere.
Yeah, he might play against Brentford. No, would he not? Would I put him in against Brentford now? Or Bromley? He might put him in against Bromley.
We'll give him Bromley. Maybe we'll give him Bromley. He plays for the Greece national team. They've done all right, in fairness. So he's not all bad. Right, lads. I don't want to end on a negative, so I don't really want to bring up the ref. I'm fairly sure we're all in agreement that there was something definitely dodgy about Virgil van Dijk throwing his shoulder into Gordon's face. It definitely should have been a penalty in my eyes. In a world where VAR has been introduced, I don't see how that's not given as a penalty. And I have no idea how anyone can justify why he's blown the whistle when he did at the end of the game, considering the stoppages and free kicks and VAR and everything that had happened. So I think we're all in agreement. There's probably not much more to be said other than that lad is a fucking disgrace, and it was a shambles of refereeing. And at the very least, I hope that it's looked at, and I just wonder why. But I have no faith in that system. Right, lads. Before we wrap up, I told you at the beginning I didn't have a quiz, but I've just discovered one for you that you can work together on. You can work together on this one. We have a couple of minutes to get through this. Really, really simply, because it's 2 big teams and we've had a big old wild game, as we said, midweek 3-3, Newcastle against Liverpool. 15 players who have played for both Newcastle and Liverpool in the Premier League era, which, as we always say, is that 92-93 season onwards. I want to see if you can get 12.
Premier League.
Alan, start us off.
Jose Enrique.
Jose Enrique is correct. I'm not going to give you the years and everything. It happened. Peter Beardsley is incorrect. He did play for Liverpool, but before the Premier League started in 1992-93.
Gini Wijnaldum.
Gino Wijnaldum is correct indeed. Played 40 times for Newcastle and 235 times for Liverpool, which I didn't realize was so many.
Wow. Big Andy Carroll.
Andy Carroll is correct. Again, 125 appearances for Newcastle, 46 for Liverpool. That was 35 million. Very well spent. Thank you very much. I have to pause there. Did you hear when the fans in the stadium started singing to Darwin Núñez, "You're just a shit, Andy Carroll, shit, Andy Carroll"?
Yes, it was great.
You're going to have a ponytail up in St. James's Park on an away team. You're going to have to hear that. Alan, go ahead.
RTA's best pundit, Didi Hamann.
Didi Hamann, the man of the turtleneck, is correct. Played for both sides.
One of the best players in the Premier League history, James Milner.
James Milner is a great shout, Chris Shaw. 328 appearances for Liverpool, 114 for Newcastle. Great shout.
Shelvey.
Big John Joe Shelvey is correct. 58 appearances for Liverpool, 205 for Newcastle.
Jesus, 205.
205. We could. I don't know whether this has to be right. Yeah, because I'm thinking of Kenny Dalglish. I gotta put the two of them in so I can get 2 points. But even though we're working together, Al. But Rush and Barnes, they both played for them.
Yes.
They did, right?
I can tell you, Ian Rush played for 11 times for Newcastle in 1997, 138 times for Liverpool between 91 and 95. John Barnes, 32 caps between 97 and 98 for Newcastle, 167 from 1991 to 1996. Correct.
I didn't really want to say this man's name ever again. But yeah, the prick that is Michael Owen.
Michael Owen is correct. I'm not even going to dignify his records. We'll just say it is correct. That's all.
He is the worst.
The worst.
I know I've said this before in another quiz. The Wales manager, Craig Bellamy.
Great
Craig
shout.
Bellamy is a great shout. Correct indeed. 111 appearances for Newcastle, 64 for Liverpool.
He played a lot better for us than he did for them, I think.
The next one I'm going to go with, my godson actually leaked the transfer. Javi Manquillo. Guy Sports.
I have so many questions.
He got the photo.
I'll give you. Sky Sports used the photo of my godson and Javi Manquillo in a Newcastle top on their site to say, Javi Manquillo joins Newcastle.
Because he met him in the city at the training ground?
In Carton House in Kildare in Ireland. I came over for a pre-season tournament. We were over and I was like, we were all there and I was like, who's your man? And as much as I hate to not admit this, but my godson's brother's a Liverpool fan. He's like, he's Javi Manquillo. He plays for Liverpool. And we were like, well, evidently he doesn't play for Liverpool anymore. That photo was then used by Sky Sports.
That is mental.
It's mental, yeah.
All right, Alan, if you can get me a photo of that, I'll have had it on the screen during the pod.
Yeah.
It should have already popped up on the screen by now. Right, dig it out. Okay, so I can tell you that is correct for sure. You now have 1, 2, 3, 4 more to go from this list.
I think I have one that I don't know if he played for Liverpool. Danny Guthrie.
Danny Guthrie played 92 times for Newcastle and 4 times for Liverpool in the year 2006. Chris, put down the yellow card. It is correct.
Yellow card for Al. I was going to say one that made, although me and Paul tonight are drinking Liverpool fans' tears. There we are. Cheers to everybody.
I drank them all. They're all gone. All the tears are gone.
I had too many of the tears. Yeah, there's going to be plenty when they lose the league by a point to Arsenal. Anyway, look, it might happen. Trust me, it might happen. But look, there was one there that actually brought genuine tears to my eyes, and I don't know whether he actually played for Liverpool. This is kind of the same thing as Al. Bobby Clark, Lee Clark's son.
Didn't play for us
though.
He's never played for us technically.
Yeah, he's a youth prospect.
Yeah, so
look, that one hurts. That one hurts. Yeah, that one hurts.
Someday he might come back. That's he's a good player. He's a good player.
There is a keeper whose name I can't remember.
Well, the good news for you, Alan, is there's 2 goalkeepers left in this 4.
Oh, Shaka Hislop played for both of them, didn't he?
He did not. Incorrect.
Oh no! What's going to play for Liverpool?
Negative. Shaka Hislop played for Portsmouth, among others.
Goalkeeper.
I can tell you now, one keeper is from way back in the day, and if any listeners happen to know who that goalkeeper was, it's way back when. Make sure you put it in the comments on YouTube, and if you can put comments on Spotify, because somebody told me that's the thing.
Yeah, it is.
Have a look. The goalkeeper, however, has been a lot more recent and prevalent.
Oh, yeah, played in the cup final for us. Lars Karius.
He did. Lars Karius.
I'd forgotten about him. Oh,
yeah.
2 appearances for Newcastle. I'm not sure. I think there was talks of him going to Genoa. I don't know if it materialized, but he played 49 times for Liverpool to no great
Including the Champions League final.
Yes, indeed. So that's one down off the list. You have 3 to go, lads. You've got the 12 out of 15, but I'll try and help you get the other 3 that remain. So you have a goalkeeper. I can only describe this man as a backup keeper for all eternity, but we're going way back to 93, 94 when he would have played for Newcastle.
Curly red hair.
Do you know what? You could be. I'm trying to remember. I'll have to Google him. He's correct. You're right.
I can't remember his name, but I remember hearing about him on another podcast before.
I remember his picture. I just couldn't, like, when you said curly hair, I was thinking long, but the picture I'm looking at now reminds me of what I thought it was short hair, but he's gone through a couple of different motions.
Yeah, I don't think he played like a couple of
I'll
games.
give you half a point for curly red hair because his full name, according to Wikipedia, is Michael Dudley Hooper, aka Mike Hooper.
Mike Hooper.
So that's one down.
Okay.
And then we have, I think is it just one more? I'm trying. I should have marked these off. There's at least one more who is a defender from, again, that similar era to the one we just discussed.
He's got gorgeously long flowing blonde locks.
He had glorious long flowing blonde locks like I used to have, Christian, before I started doing this podcast.
Lol. And he's the meat of a deer, Barry Venison.
He certainly is. Barry Venison is correct. 110 appearances for Newcastle, 3 for Liverpool. I think that's all of them, lads. I can't see any that you didn't get. Hooper, I mean, yeah, I think that's all the ones we had. I thought there was one more, but from what I can see, that's all 15 of them. So there you go, lads. You work very well together. Congratulations.
We do work very well together. Yeah.
I like how Chris Show just, rather than giving names, he just goes with the hairstyles and meat references and all that. Give yourself a yellow card, Chris Show.
That's a yellow card for both you guys.
Right. Well, on that bombshell, just before we go, I did mention at the top of the show that we had to go and put our eyes onto Alan. So, Alan, I want to hear if there's a meetup this weekend, first of all, and in which locations they may be on, if there's more than one. And also, Christmas party eyes emoji.
Ooh, I'm going to get my diary. Hang on.
This weekend, of course, we will be in Bleecker Street Bar from 2 p.m. onwards, watching ourselves on Saturday. And Christmas party has not been announced officially in the group chat yet, but I can make the sneaky announcement that on Carabao Cup quarter-final night of the 18th of December, from 7 p.m. in Bleecker Street Bar, there will be a Christmas party that will have finger food, it will have quizzes, it will have prizes, it will have me and Chris giving out to each other over crap.
Yeah.
Come on down, have a wild night and enjoy yourselves at our Christmas party. Last time we had the last time we had a Christmas party was the infamous Sunderland game that we had last year, and that was a great day. So fingers crossed, same result, same outcome, same everything. Come have a few pints with us, celebrate Christmas. It's a week before. What more could you ask for?
Exactly. What more could you ask for? Brilliant.
La 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 la. Wednesday, the 18th of December, an exclusive here on the Irish Mags Show. Lads, I may be in London that week. I'm hoping to confirm this week. Depending on how that goes, you may or may not see me, but because you're booing me, even if I am going, I'm not going to tell you, and I'll just land there on the evening, surprise you all, as you do. Just like when Chris Show turns up at a Liverpool bar, the same reaction as well.
Exactly.
Right, looking forward to that. Well, on that note, folks, big thank you to Alan and Chris Show, of course, for joining us this week. We're going to have a couple of guests on. We've got 2, maybe 3 guests lined up over the coming weeks, so keep your eyes peeled for that. We'll be dropping more information ahead of that. Hopefully some live shows coming your way as well. So until then, we should say the usual. Thank you all for listening. Check out all our socials in the description below. Check out theirishmags.com. All of the latest photographs from meetups around the country. We've added Limerick. We've added Sligo. I saw a Tralee photograph flying around. They're all making their way onto the Irish Mags website, as well as all the Irish Mags on tour. So check it all out, theirishmags.com. Until then, hopefully another win this weekend against Brentford before we play Brentford again and again and again. So we'll say, away the lags, slán go full. We'll see you all very soon. Take care, lads.
Slán a bhaile.
Slán.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye.